Hey, before the video starts, at the end of the video, I have two important things I want to mention and bring up. So stay tuned and check out the Instagram and Fiverr. Mostly the Instagram because the follow count difference between this and my subscribers is kind of wild. But yeah, let's go. Goodnight Punpun, as we all know, is my favorite manga ever. And while I was reading the series, I had the recurring thought of, what if this series got an adaptation? Now, there's a lot of mixed opinions when it comes to this topic. Many Punpun fans love the idea of the series receiving an anime adaptation, and others think that Punpun should never be adapted at all and just, stay as a manga, because then it wouldn't be as underrated and more general audience would watch it. Because that's a bad thing, I guess. And with Inio Asano's Dead Demons Destruction recently being announced to have its own anime, seeing that made me remember that initial recurring question. What if Goodnight Punpun got an adaptation? And today, that's exactly what I'll be talking about. Obviously, I am personally one of those fans who would love to see Punpun be adapted. And so I'll be sharing stuff I'd like to see, what I'd personally expect, a bunch of other ideas, because I think I have some pretty neat ideas for a potential Goodnight Punpun adaptation. Now, I'm sorry if this video comes across as not a rant, because I feel like rants are usually negative if it sounds like I'm just like spitting out ideas or if I start yapping. So let's just get started with idea number 1. Normal anime adaptation. This one was obviously gonna be here. Nothing wild or insane or out of this world, just a regular old anime. I think Inio Asano's character designs are great and would transfer very well into animation. I mean, the Dead Demons adaptation really seems to replicate Asano's style super well from the looks of the trailer. The only real problem with a just normal anime adaptation would probably be the pacing. Punpun isn't necessarily a long series, but a lot of the chapters tend to switch back and forth between multiple plot points, There's main stuff with Punpun or Aiko, then sometimes things switch up and the story focuses on other characters like Seki and Shimizu for a gazillion chapters, and then there's also all the Pegasus stuff. So I feel like the pacing could be a little odd to adapt in something episodic, but besides that, I don't see an anime adaptation running into other, big problems. Wait a minute. This is something else I wanted to mention. A lot of people say that Punpun could never receive an adaptation because it's so gross and it's so messed up and, all the things that happen within the series, you can't put that on TV. And my answer to that is Berserk literally has 4 adaptations. Now, for the animation of this potential adaptation, we need a studio that not only is good at basic animation and character art, like movement, but also a studio that is great at backgrounds. Inio Asano's art is extremely well detailed because he actually just uses real photos and 3D softwares. So it's not that his backgrounds look so real, it's just that Inio Asano literally uses real life photos as reference for a lot of backgrounds.
リアルな背景をっていうふうに考えたときに、その写真を加工して、その漫画の絵として取り込むっていう方法を、ずっと取ってきたんですけれども。
So studios that I think could really nail this aesthetic of Inio Asano's art style are maybe MAPPA. They really went above and beyond for Chainsaw Man, for example, and it had a lot of gorgeous shots, especially the backgrounds. Next is Studio Shaft, which is probably best known for the Monogatari series, and I don't think I really need to say more. That's personally all the studios I can really think of, but if you have any more that you think would fit Punpun, please comment down below. Next, still for the animation, I've always thought it would look cool if the entire adaptation was monochromatic. Because Asano's style is already so gorgeous and detailed, I think a purely black and white show would make his art style pop even more in animation. Though a colored adaptation definitely wouldn't bother me, especially because the Dead Demons anime is in color and it looks phenomenal. Another reason why I think this would be so cool is because of Adult Swim's Uzumaki anime. I'm not sure if it's out yet, but it just looks so good. Films. This is one where, on paper, it sounds great, but I'm not sure if it would work well because of the pacing again. I think it would be cool if Goodnight Punpun was, split into a trilogy of films, or maybe 4 films or something, one film each focusing on Punpun's childhood, young adulthood, and then, the final movie or movies, purely focusing on the adulthood arc. Also, I was going to separate this idea, but I'll just say it here. I think an animated or a live-action adaptation would also have some insane potential. Black and white live-action movies with real actors and Punpun being the only drawing or 3D model or whatever. Something maybe like Alita Battle Angel did. The only big issue would be that I think it would be a little difficult since Asano's characters can be extremely very expressive, so maybe the facial expressions wouldn't, transition well into live action. But other than that, I still think it could work. But let's say you hate the idea of a live action adaptation. Well, then I have an even greater idea. At least I think it's pretty great. The Amazing World of Gumball. Yes, you heard that. The Amazing World of Gumball is one of my favorite cartoons ever. I mean, I even named my cat after my favorite character. It's a very creative and unique show that has multiple art styles all working at once. There's traditional 2D characters, 3D characters, whatever that thing is supposed to be, and for some weird reason it just works. One of the coolest things about this show, though, is how all the backgrounds are real. Like the school, this was a real school, this mall, the house, the streets. A lot of them were real photos and made with 3D softwares. So if you can't tell what I'm hinting at, I'm saying Gumballify Punpun. Give us an animated series with characters that are 2D, 3D, whatever, maybe a mix of both, and then put them in real life backgrounds, orbs, backgrounds that are real life that are touched up with 3D softwares. I know I'm definitely not using the right terms and, I'm kind of saying the wrong things, but I think you understand what I'm trying to say. I think this would work best for Punpun solely because of how Asano works on his manga, using real life as reference and backgrounds and all that stuff like I mentioned before. Whether a show or multiple movies would be made like this, I'd be fine with it. I just think this would be the ideal Punpun adaptation in terms of overall style and aesthetic. But the final thing I want to talk about is something I haven't mentioned at all, and that's voice acting. Punpun is a really interesting character. For the majority of the series, we rarely see him talk out loud. A lot of Punpun's dialogue is internal from what I remember, and when I personally read Goodnight Punpun, I never had a voice for these moments. For characters like Aiko, his uncle, Sachi, I had voices for them, but every time I'd see Punpun's dialogue stuff, where it was just a black panel with, letters on them, I just heard, nothing. Like white noise or something, I didn't hear a voice. And I think this would be really cool to see in an adaptation. Instead of Punpun's internal dialogue being heard and actually spoken like in most shows, I think it would be really cool if the adaptation just abruptly cuts to this dark and creepy looking background with the text of Punpun's internal speaking. The letters could be a little animated so that it doesn't look stiff, and there could be these white noise sounds or some eerie sound effects until near the adulthood arc, when I would personally finally give Punpun just a normal voice actor, like for pretty much all of his normal dialogue. I just think that Punpun's voice actor really coming in at the end would be cool and just completely different from anything else I've seen in a show. Or just give Punpun some voices throughout the whole potential anime. It could work because I'm just describing my personal experiences with the series, You might have heard a grandpa's voice for Punpun's childhood internal dialogue, It's different for everyone.
But I'll tell you what, you fat little cunt.
But point is, I really want Goodnight Punpun to receive some kind of faithful adaptation. And I personally think I have some cool ideas for what could potentially look and sound amazing. But then again, I'm no animator or director. I'm giving out all these huge, massive, ambitious ideas that I think would look and sound really awesome without taking into consideration how long it would take or how many animators would be at their desks stressing and making all these 3D models and stuff. But at the end of the day, Goodnight Punpun could never receive an adaptation, and I would still be completely fine with that because I own the manga, it's my favorite story ever, I'm happy. Even though I do really want one, especially that is similar to The Amazing World of Gumball in terms of style, stylistically. But what do you think? Should Punpun receive an adaptation at all? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. But now that we're at the end, here are the two things, like I said at the start, the two things that I wanted to just quickly say in a video. First of all, thank you all for the recent support. It has been fantastic, and we're close to 4,000 subscribers. But lately I've been getting a lot of DMs and messages and stuff from viewers over on my Instagram, TikTok, and all of that. And though I genuinely do appreciate all the kind words and stuff, all the DMs, all the replying to my story on Instagram, I can't look at every single thing that's being sent to me, so I'm sorry. I have some viewers of mine who just try to consistently message me and stuff, and it's just something I can't always respond to. So whether it's memes, videos, video ideas, I'm sorry if I can't respond to it all, but I seriously do try to respond to all the people that reply to my story and all that. And also, sometimes I don't always check my message requests, so again, I'm sorry. And finally, I got my first fan art, fan edit design thing. I don't know what to call it, but yeah, here it is. Thank you very much for the edit. I'm obviously going to give credit at the bottom of the screen. I think this is cool, this is nice, this is my first ever thing made by a fan and given to me. Sorry if the quality isn't the greatest on this video, but I promise it looks really cool on my phone. And yeah, if you enjoyed, please hit all of those supporting buttons, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.
It ain't hard to tell, I excel, then prevail. The rank is contacted, I attract clientele. My mic check is life or death, breathing a sniper's breath. I exhale the yellow smoke of Buddha through righteous steps. Deep like the shining, sparkle like a diamond. Sneaker Uzi on the island, and my army jacket lining hit the earth like a comet invasion. Nazis like the Afro situation, half man, half amazing. Cause in my physical I can express through song, delete stress like Motrin, then